Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 26th of June, comes to you from London. And we've had a very hot few days here. And so, looking at the markets, we're seeing quite a lot of green on the screen. So things are just looking a little bit better as we head in towards the end of the week. For those of you new to Charts Today, this is my long-term chart, my medium-term, so weekly, daily, and 60 minutes. So my long-term, my medium term, and my short term view. So in 6 charts I get an overview of what's going on in the market. So for the dollar index, we're bullish above the cloud on the long term chart, bearish on the medium term chart, but bullish on the short term. So a mixed picture with targets in both directions, but short term we're on the rise, and that means that the euro against the dollar short term is looking a little bit more bearish, and we've got some downside targets here about 1.2 1.6% lower. But on the whole, the euro has been longer term drifting lower against the dollar for some years. Looking at the yen, we see on the dollar yen we're around this 107 level and have been for some time. Dollar strength at the moment, so we do see an upside target here to 109.50, but we need to activate that target. Sterling sitting at 124, slightly weaker against that stronger dollar, and against the euro 110.5. So we are just again ticking down there, and sterling just steadily decreasing against the euro over the last few months. We did, of course, get down as low as 105 in the middle of the crisis. Against the Swiss franc, 117.5, so we've broken that 118 level, and against the Aussie dollar sitting at around 180, we see the decline in sterling against that stronger Aussie dollar, which is an indication of the risk on trade. Bitcoin sitting in the low 9,000 area. We've really struggled to break 10,000 over the last few months, and so we are just bearish on that short term. A bit of a shortage of downside targets on the short term chart, but a couple of longer term downside targets. So it does look like Bitcoin could go below 9,000. The S&P 500 index yesterday was up 1%, so that's improving matters a little bit. We've got a slight bearish weekly candle here. We've seen this week we've just fallen away slightly, and of course the high that we saw a couple of weeks ago is still some way away. And looking at the NASDAQ, we see here that we are still holding on to that all-time high, so the NASDAQ looking stronger there. The Dow up over 1% overnight, so looking strong here as well. The futures this morning are slightly down in the US, so we've got the S&P future down 0.3%, and the Nasdaq E-mini down 0.25%. And we may start to see just some funds wanting to bank the profits that they've had this quarter as we head into the end of the month. And so there might just be a little bit of selling pressure to lock in some of these gains in their performance numbers. We're seeing this morning that the UK market's up 0.75%. So that's looking stronger, and we're seeing the DAX is also up 0.75% as well. The UK market actually up 1% on the cash market. So we're looking stronger here. We're just really stuck in the cloud on the price on the weekly. And again, as with the US market, these highs that we made a couple of weeks ago are now the critical levels to watch, and we're some way from those at the moment. The CAC 40 is up nearly 1% in Paris. So that's looking better, and also the Japanese market was up 1% overnight as well. So we're seeing the medium-term picture still looking okay. Long-term on Tokyo, we're just struggling to get back above the cloud, and short-term we are just a little bit in the doldrums. We do have a downside target, some 4.9% lower, but not activated yet. We need new lows to activate that. The Hang Seng bucked the trend. It was down 0.8% overnight, but the chart looking similar to most Asian charts we're seeing here, medium term, just struggling to break higher. And we have been in long-term decline on the Hang Seng over the last couple of years. And looking at the Sensex in China, that was actually unchanged. We had a public holiday there. Looking at the Sensex in India, up 0.6%, so just still continuing its medium-term transition to bullish. And the Aussie market was actually up 1.5%, so a strong finish to the week in Oz, although we still had a weekly candle that was slightly bearish, so we will take its cue from the US on Monday. Looking at gold, We're sitting at 1763, so that's looking pretty bullish still on the long-term charts, and amazing long-term uptrend, and a little bit of a sell-off in the crisis, but overall gold is looking very strong with very strong upside targets as well. And silver is down 0.5%, so just not doing as well as gold. US 10-year yield sitting at 0.67%. That's roughly where we've stayed. And just a quick look at the tech majors. Apple and we see here on Apple that we are actually still holding on to bullish territory, and Amazon also looking bullish as well, so that's looking better too. And Microsoft pushing higher, so we're looking good there too. Quick look at the energy mix. Brent crude held that $40 mark, so it did get down to 39.50. That was sort of the level that we had targets to on the short-term chart, but we've now got new upside targets, and we're recovering our poise. We're back above $40, back above $41 in fact. Slightly bearish on that short-term chart, but we are still making a transition to bullish longer term. WTI is up nearly 0.5% this morning. It's looking stronger there. But the really big story is US NatGas storage numbers yesterday plummeted below the 150 level, and that's activated some big downside targets to 137, 127, and as low as this target's actually been in place for a little while, but it's now looking more likely the 99-cent level. So $1 natural gas may well be something that we see. Coal is looking stronger for a recovery here, recovering through the chart there. We've got some good upside targets. Emissions are up 0.2% this morning. They're holding their trend, looking strong there. Gas price has been hit in Europe, probably a fall over with the US gas price. NBP still holding on to its short-term bullish trend, but just starting to break a little bit, and the long-term recovery just under pressure. And TTF just can't get above that €6 mark, so we're heading back to the low below $5. So it's this failed recovery just taking its time. But if we look at German power, it's holding on to its €40 level and holding on to its gain, so that's looking still pretty strong. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday. Happy charting. See you then.